the top level blue blood programs all are kind of like that. The Dukes, the North Carolinas. Alabama has some stuff they got to work on behind the arc, but I think overall we do actually. I think we fit the mold of a deep run this year because we're like really high defensive efficiency. We are one of the top scoring teams in the country. It's just we got to be able to adapt our game to whatever the environment we're playing in. If we're not hitting our threes, then like A&M only shot. They went 4 of 16 from 3 on Saturday, and we went 7 for 36. It's like, okay, well, they're not hitting a lot of threes, so that means we need to be driving the basketball every play. I don't know. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, like we're getting the shots off. I mean, we're getting a lot of good looks. It wasn't like, we shot 37 contested threes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting the same looks we've been getting all year that the style of offense, allows us to get these open looks. They're just not falling. I mean, Namari's shots barely graze rim sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, what was he shooting at? Some of them just some of them look rushed. Ryland's shooting rushed threes a lot lately. Seems like he's rushing his threes. I don't know. It's just different. It's weird just grinding out these.
Well, and like Noah Clowney shouldn't, or not Noah Clowney. What's his name? Yeah, he should never shoot another three ever again. Like there are certain people that you just take that away from their game because he is not a 3-point shooter. It was like Herb Jones a few years ago. He would hit one like every once in a while, but he was just a liability if he was trying to shoot threes. And finally, I think Nate was like, "Hey, look, that's not your game," and so he went away from it. But like some people, just they don't need to be shooting. It's a wasted possession every time they do.
That's how I felt about Noah Gurley. Every time Gurley was in there launching threes, and I'm like, "Why is that guy shooting threes? He's got legit post moves. If he goes down the post, he's got legit post moves."
Yeah, the thing is, he's like 6'8" or something like that, so he's not like big for a.
He plays so soft.
He might be smaller than that. He's not like a big post player size wise, and so I think he tries to expand his game out because it makes him harder to defend. But yeah, he has his times, his nights.
Well, this is certainly a bad time to be playing our worst basketball going into single elimination tournament. I'll be right back, guys.
So what are y'all looking forward to? Has the matchups have come out, right, for conference seeding and for the tournament, for the SEC tournament, right?
We don't, or at least last time I checked a few minutes ago, we don't know who we're facing.
What's Florida or
Yeah, it'll be Florida, Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got
Who would y'all think wins that game? Florida or State?
Mississippi State, probably.
Yeah.
Florida, their best player, Castleton's
Yeah.
out, and so he is like their team basically.
Florida was.
Oh, he is out. Castleton's out. Oh, they're
I think he
done.
broke his wrist or
Yeah.
something. Didn't he break his wrist or fracture his hand or something?
And then Tennessee, like one of their best offensive players, is out. I think.
Yeah, he's out. He tore his ACL.
Yeah, the point guard.
Yeah, so like they're going to be.
He's out bad. Like
yeah.
It's pretty nasty. His knee injury is pretty nasty.
Yeah, but like I said, the SEC tournament to me I don't know. It doesn't really move. The conference tournaments in general don't move the needle for me unless it is like one of these, like I'm watching the Northeastern Conference tournament. Like those teams, their tournaments matter because
They need it. Yeah.
But like
Are you
Alabama,
watching like Cleveland? What is it? Cleveland State or something like that? Or is that
Fairleigh Dickinson and Merrimack. But the reason why I like those so much is because to them that's like their national championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they know they're probably going to lose.
That's the only way they're getting in the tournament.
Yeah, and they know they're going to lose when they get there, like more likely. So like for them, that is the cream of the crop for them is to make the NCAA tournament, win their conference.
That's why I'm like, what's the point of us even playing in this silly tournament other than somebody else to win it? and get in the tournament that way. I mean, this is a total meaningless tournament other than to say we won the regular season and the conference tournament.
If we were Vanderbilt fans, we would be like, oh yeah, this tournament means a lot because they're that's their ticket. But
yeah, I would agree with that. Although Vandy
might
might get in, man. They're playing pretty well.
Yeah, they look good right now.
I think they would need to get to the final game. Maybe even have to win it because Andy was kind of in a similar situation last year. They started off the year really bad. And then,
Let's see here. Who does Vandy open with here?
They get a bye.
LSU or Georgia. Looks like.
It's so funny.
Vandy gets a bye here.
Yeah, they're a 4 seed. They're a higher seed than Tennessee, and Tennessee's ranked like number 12 or something.
No, Vandy's 6. Tennessee's 5.
6. Sorry, it's small print.
Yeah, sorry.
Missouri's 4.
Missouri. Actually, all right. So Ole Miss, South Carolina. Who do y'all think comes out of that?
I don't think
Flip a coin. I don't know.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm going with Ole Miss.
Yeah.
South Carolina's not good.
I know they're not, but
I would say LSU over Georgia, but LSU has good players, but they just can't win games for whatever reason. But they've got good players.
But I don't think it's that they have good players. I think that because didn't their coach bring all of his players from Murray State or something?
Well, they brought 3 of them, I think.
Yeah, so they're not really SEC caliber good. They might be good, but I think Ole Miss wins that Ole Miss South Carolina game. Ole Miss, they've at least looked competitive against some decent teams. They played well against Mississippi State. They played well against Auburn. They didn't really win any of those games, but they looked good. I guess South Carolina looked good against us, so you could make that argument.
Yeah,
those games don't. They probably don't really matter in the grand scheme.
I think Missouri's going to win out in that area.
I think Mississippi State will beat Florida, especially without Castleton.
For sure.
Yeah, Mississippi State has a lot to play for right now, so that might be a dangerous game for us.
Well, and they gave us a tough game when we played them in Tuscaloosa. I think
they
really
did.
They gave us all we wanted. So, I think Ole Miss, Tennessee. I think Tennessee beats Ole Miss there, but I think Missouri is who will play in the semifinals if we get past Mississippi State. I think Missouri's playing pretty well, and Tennessee lost their point guard, so that's always a tricky situation when you lose your floor general. I think Auburn beats Arkansas, and then I think Vanderbilt beats the winner of that play-in game there.
So I just realized
Vandy and Kentucky.
Yeah, I just realized we were live. So apologize to the viewers there.
What?
But yeah, did we not do the intro? I didn't remember seeing it.
No, I didn't do an intro this time because the conversation was going. So there was no break.
Yeah, it took me about 5 minutes to realize too.
There's no pause enough for me to intro the show because you were talking and then Parker started talking and we were talking about the team and I just hit record. There was no break.
So before we get here, let's kind of back it up then. And I kind of want to hear everybody else's thoughts about the 2 games we had this past week, starting with the Iron Bowl of basketball probably is the good starting point.
And we played a bad first half in the game against Auburn. Came back really strong in the second half and wound up being a hell of a game to watch. I mean, I was up at Baumhauer's pounding on the table, hooting and yelling towards the end of that game. I mean, what a game that was. But once again, we didn't shoot real well and didn't start real well. Had to grind back from down 17, I believe. But what concerns me more is these slow starts to these games. Nate mentioned it in the post game, we'll get to the first media timeout and have 2 or 4 points. That's just, you can't go into the tournament having to come back 15-point deficits every game.
Were y'all talking before the show? Like Sears with his 3-pointers in that Auburn game was infuriating.
Oh,
Like, what confidence do
I
you
don't
have?
know why.
It's like, just stop.
Although we hit that one in overtime, that was
I know,
big, but
But that pull-up three in transition after we had just
Yeah.
taken the lead,
no
I'm like,
need for it.
what are you
Yeah.
doing?
yeah.
And he
I
had
yelled.
it coming. It was an alley-oop.
Yeah, me too.
It was crazy.
I was hollering. Or when we had the when we got the steal with like 6 seconds left and Bradley tries to go in and tomahawk dunk it instead of just turning them around and dribbling out the clock to win the game. I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna get thrown out of Baumhauer's, man. I was like, I mean, I was fists on the table, you know, you can hear the silverware clanging, you know, and I'm just like freaking out.
And it didn't seem like a big deal in the grand scheme because it was a 4-point game, but
Yeah.
knowing Auburn, they would get like a 3-and-1, like on a
Yeah.
half-court
Some
shot.
crazy
Make
thing,
it.
and we'd foul him on a half court shot.
Yeah, and they would make it, you know. So like, yeah, I didn't understand that either. But like,
Jeff was that a moment like a Mark Barron moment? Yeah, cut him right there. Was
Yeah.
one of those moments.
He's gone. I was like, he's out.
Got him.
Yeah, and then the Texas A&M game was just awful from the tip to the end. I mean, that was just a brutal on us being even ready for that game. We couldn't shoot the ball, turned it over like 4 of the first 5 possessions of the game. We turned it over.
Unfortunately, I saw that one
The
coming.
officiating
I really,
was
really
some of the
did.
worst I'd ever seen. I know it's funny hearing us complain about officiating after the Auburn game, some of the benefits we got there, but I mean, Brandon Miller had 3 charging calls on him. I mean, when was the last time a superstar had 3 charging calls in one game called on him? And the last one that negated his and one, that was BS, man. That was bull jive.
yeah. So I'd like to back it up just a little bit so I can kind of give my thoughts on the Auburn game.
Yes.
I do think that was probably one of the best games. I was in Germany and I was like on my phone watching it, and it was like 3:00 in the morning. And we went down 17, and I literally turned. I was like, I'm too tired to even watch.
Yeah.
And
That's what I did. I listened to the whole second half on the radio.
well, so I like turned over in the bed. I couldn't get to sleep, and so I turned over, and it's an 8-point game. It was like 66 to
Not the Auburn
58.
game, the A&M game, I meant.
They're chipping away at it.
And I was like, well, you know, maybe I'll like stick it out and turn it on. And then all of a sudden we started coming back and going back and forth and winning that game. You know, I will say, you can say a lot about the way Alabama's played over the last 5 games. One thing I do think could also separate us is that we're never really out of the game because of our depth and what we bring to the table as far as rotation pieces. We can bring fresh legs onto the court while a lot of other teams are really starting to get stagnant, have the same people out there. Auburn got in horrible foul trouble there, and it really limited their depth.
It's a joke.
And so, but anyway, with the A&M game, like Parker was kind of alluding to, I kind of saw it coming. We just won the SEC, really big game against Auburn. And I honestly, I'm not saying that Nate brought this, you know, that he coached with this mentality in that game, but it's hard to get players motivated after you just cut the nets at home against your arch rival.
Well, especially the way that game was. I mean, overtime, like what an exhausting game it was.
It's one of those things, like everybody's kind of saying, we've got to get better from behind the arc. If that's going to be our game, then we have to actually be able to execute the game plan. And we are
I've
not
been saying all year, guys. It's consistency.
Mhm.
Whatever you're gonna do it, you got to be consistent in it. And it's to Cameron's point. It's just we've got to be consistent, make the layups, making the free throws, being more consistent behind the arc. If we can do that, I don't think there's a team that could stop us if we stay consistent. But we'll see.
We miss more open threes than any team I've ever seen.
I mean, we're getting great looks.
Open, it's like that's when we miss. It's the weirdest thing.
We're
That's
getting
the
really
biggest
good
problem.
looks.
Yep.
The driving dishes. I mean, we're getting a lot of really good looks.
I mean, when you commit to the 3-2, it's you live or die by it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we shot it 36 times Saturday.
I'd
made
say
7.
25 of those were good looks.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's pretty much covered it. We just got to be consistent. But I mean, we have all the skill to do it elsewhere too. Like we're flying in the paint.
Here's something I've noticed. It seems that when we were playing at our peak, we had we were rotating 9, 10, 11 guys. For whatever reason, lately I feel like Nate has shrunk the rotation some. Where Brandon Miller's playing 40 minutes a game almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you look at the starters, and JQ are playing the majority of the minutes, and then the normal guys that would come and give us good minutes off the bench are only getting 1, 2, 3 minutes.
Yeah, no.
And then you look at the box score, and I mean a lot of little single-digit minutes played, and I'm like, back when we were really gelling and really going, we had 10 guys playing in an easy rotation.
Yeah, but I think the problem is when you go down early in a game like that, then all of a sudden you need your scoring
changes everything
in the game. You don't need Noah Gurley in the game because you need your Brandon Millers out there. You need people who are going to be able to get you back in that game. And I think a lot of that is due to the way that we've been playing here lately. But
yeah, I would agree with that. That's why I think these 6 days off was really good timing. I think we needed to get our legs back. Last couple of weeks have been really tough games, even though South Carolina, is 10 games under 500. I mean, they got a good player. That freshman on their team is pretty good, and that's a tough place to play. So I mean, we just had some tough games we've been going through.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like right now. I mean, I don't know what could change in the SEC tournament. I don't really think a whole lot can, but it looks like we'll be a number 1 or number 2 overall seed, which means that we would play in Birmingham. So that could be to our advantage, at least getting to the second weekend. So that would be pretty cool. But
okay.
What's our
so
record?
All the games
plan
for the
in that
conference tournament are at
venue?
noon. All our games would be at noon if we win these 3 games. They'd all be at noon.
Parker, you said what's our record playing in that
What's
venue?
our record in Birmingham? What's our record there?
Well, we
Not
played
good,
there
is
a
it?
lot. Well, no. So we played there for years. I mean, they used to host the SEC tournament there back in the day. So
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
in the last few years, we have not played well there. We lost to Gonzaga this year, lost to Clemson, I think, twice there, lost to Davidson last year. That was like
Sounds right.
That was the game that got
right.
rescheduled because one of the other teams we were supposed to play wound up getting canceled. So we called them down, and they wound up beating us in the BJCC. So yeah, we don't typically play there very well there. But I will say, if in the NCAA tournament, like playing basically a home game in the NCAA tournament is a huge advantage.
What we need in Birmingham is the students to show up in droves.
I'm sure that there's like some kind of like student tickets that go along with that.
Because the game I went to there when we played Gonzaga, there were no students there.
Yeah.
And that was a big difference.
Well, the ticket cost is ridiculous in Birmingham. Like if you go even try to like look at the tickets, I mean, upper deck is like absurd amount of money. So yeah, I will not be going.
Somehow we got to get the hard hats in there, man. I mean, that would be a big advantage for those 2 games if we win 2 games. Opening weekend, that would be a big advantage if we had some student noise in there. But we'll see, man. Like I said, it's a bad time to be playing the worst ball of the season, but if there's any time to right the ship, now is as good a time as any.
Well, so I don't know if you remember like the 2019 Auburn team. They wound up winning the SEC tournament. They were like going on a run there. And then they came up in the first round of the NCAA tournament that year. And I believe New Mexico State should have beaten them. It was like, I think New Mexico State might have missed a couple free throws.
Was this the Final Four year? Was this the year they went to the
Yes.
Final Four?
It was the first round, 13 seed. New Mexico State had Auburn beaten, and then it's like that game put it changed Auburn's mentality or something, and then all of a sudden they were just could not miss and were dominating. And so the thing is, the game comes in ebbs and flows. We could literally come out against Mississippi State or Florida and hit 15, 16 threes. Alabama has the ability to do that. And then that could set us on fire for the rest of the tournament. But the thing about college basketball is you can be the best team. You can be the number one overall seed and still lose in the Sweet 16. It's just the way the game is. So it takes a little bit of luck to get that far. In Alabama, we're going to be a number one overall or a number one seed. But this tournament is going to be a lot different at the top than it normally is. This is one of those years where I would not be shocked if a 5 or 6 seed wound up potentially winning it. A Kentucky could be a 7 or 8 seed and wind up winning.
Vanderbilt's going to do that George Mason run. They're going to be a 13-loss team, make it to the Final Four.
But it really could be one of those situations where a Duke winds up making a run all the way there, because that's just – at the end of the day, they could be a 7 or 8 seed. They're still a blue blood. They still recruit at the top level. And, so the thing is, you can't really anything less than a Sweet 16 would be a severe disappointment. I would like to get further than that. But, the reality is making the Sweet 16 is usually considered a good season for, an Alabama-type program. Yeah. Kentucky, no. But Alabama – that's good, And if we continue to do that on a consistent basis, then that's where you start building into what a Baylor is now, right? Baylor was
Elite Eight, Final Fours, or
Baylor was make the NCAA tournament type team, maybe an NIT team every once in a while, and then all that consistency, they were able to start making their team into something that was a national championship contender. It doesn't just happen overnight. We could wind up winning it all, but we need to just be consistent as a program, and then that's where you start getting into that lane. But I just like 4. I mean, that way all
to
shut their mouths.
I'm telling you, man, that Elite Eight run we had back in 2004 was that was like the Vanderbilt team this year. We're playing good at the right time. And we wound up in the Elite Eight. Beat Stanford, beat Syracuse.
Going into the tournament, we were 17-13 with an 8 record.
We weren't even. We were Vanderbilt this year. We were Vanderbilt this year.
Yeah, we were an 8 seed.
500 in the conference, maybe even sub 500 in the conference.
Yeah,
just weird.
Yeah, we beat Stanford, who was the number one overall seed in the second round.
Yeah. Beat Syracuse in that tournament.
Beat Syracuse and Jim Boeheim. That was a team that had just won the national championship the year before.
Yeah.
And then we got beat by UConn, who won the national championship.
That was when the homie for UConn was raining threes that game. Dude hit 7 threes that game.
Yeah, was Richard Hamilton on that team? No.
That was Ben Gordon was the –
Ben Gordon
was on that team. And then there was some other guy named Anderson, a guard named something Anderson that hit 7 threes in that game.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Georgia Tech made the Final Four that year as well, or something like that. It's crazy.
It's always good.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. But yeah. Anyway, so we've talked pretty good bit about basketball. I don't know if y'all have been following the combine, the NFL combine, and all the stuff that's going on there. It literally blows my mind how quickly the pundits change their whole
game film is meaningless
based on the combine and this craziness. Anthony Richardson is all of a sudden, number 1 pick.
AR-15, baby.
And I'm dude, this guy at Florida.
That's Parker's guy.
Florida, it's not like Florida's lacking talent. And he wasn't able to do jack crap with.
That guy sucked. That guy sucked. All right, the guy could not. Hey, from Florida fans, I'm sorry. From Florida fans, I've read the information from Florida fans. The guy could not complete a screen pass or a 5-yard slant. And I'm like, how can you be a Division I quarterback and not being able to do that?
Boy, he would really suck in Matt Canada's offense if he can't throw a slant or a 5-yard screen pass.
Well, I'm not saying that he's not a great athlete. He's a great athlete. That doesn't necessarily translate to good quarterback.
He's the combine athlete. You know, there's always those guys at the combine that go and because they've been training for these specific drills for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that doesn't mean you play football.
He's going to kill the combine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
But it's just the mobility now. I mean, scouts are going to love it. Realistically, he's going to get drafted in the second round at the latest because of his mobility. I mean, the pass rush now in the NFL is just so quick that any sort of guy that shows any sort of footwork or quickness or mobility.
I wouldn't be shocked if he went lottery.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. He's not good, but that's the reality.
I mean, his teams are so desperate for a quarterback that they'll just wing it.
Well, it's like the Will Levis thing. It's like
Will Levis.
9 miles per hour.
Levis and Butthead.
It doesn't even make any sense. Like, I mean, that's a Kentucky team that lost to Vanderbilt this past season. Like, I understand, like, you can say Kentucky's talent wasn't as good as the SEC around it, but you lost to Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that guy sucks too.
The on-the-field play does matter. It does matter.
Yes, thank you.
And
everybody's making a big deal about Bryce Young not throwing at the combine. I was like, why would he? Why does he do anything at the combine other than drive by and wave?
Well, like
so
like Mitch Trubisky, for example, like he went number one over? Did he go number one overall?
2.
Number 2?
2, yeah,
something like that.
2.
Because Carson Wentz went number 1. And I will say he would have been
panned out really well.
He probably would have wound up being a really, really successful quarterback. But
did Wentz go 1?
Yes, he did.
He went 1. No, he went 2.
I thought Wentz went 2 behind Jared Goff.
I'm thinking of a different year. Maybe.
Yeah. Who went 1 the year that Trubisky went 2? Was that Myles Garrett?
Probably. Yeah.
Trubisky went 2. And then I think Deshaun went 10th and Mahomes went 11th or something like that.
Trubisky. I knew
that guy sucks. Take it, Parker.
He's not going to be a stud. He's just not. Like he played in North Carolina against a bunch of nobodies. Wasn't even good. Like didn't win a whole lot of games there.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. I've stated that since day one. Everybody was like, "Oh, Mitchell Trubisky." I was like, "The guy started 1 year." 1 year for the Division I team.
Although North Carolina pumps out these quarterbacks, him and Howell and now Drake May. I mean, North Carolina somehow gets these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, Drake May's
I will say
miles ahead of in my opinion.
It's not even a stratosphere.
Yeah,
like,
but
why did you go there? Could have gone to Alabama and made like triple your value just by going to Alabama and playing quarterback.
Yeah, it almost seems though like pundits are trying to find reasons why not draft Bryce Young.
Yeah,
in the top.
Now he's too short. Now he doesn't weigh enough.
We're getting like so.
These are all things that we knew about.
I'm like, let him fall. Somebody's licking their chops, going, "You don't want to draft him? Fine. Let him come on down. Let him tumble a little further."
This is all stuff that was known like 2 months ago. Whenever he was like projected.
Yes, it was known.
You know, so it's weird. Now I will say, like, I would have concerns about drafting Bryce. Like, he didn't get injured at Alabama outside of that one game this year that he was out or whatever, but like with the shoulder stuff. But the thing is, like, he took a hell of a lot of hits at Alabama. I felt like for like a normal Alabama quarterback. Usually that's not the case, but he got nailed a lot. Now a lot of it. I blame the offensive line a lot this season for their inability to protect the quarterback, but a lot of times it was his fault. Like he just
make a play.
Instead of getting rid of the ball, he would take a massive hit. Like, and I'm just like, dude,
he's gonna have to learn in the NFL. He's gonna have to throw the ball away, or else he's gonna get his clock knocked off, and he won't last. I agree with that.
I mean, I keep waiting for Tua to learn that, but we see what's happening to Tua. But he had the same problem, you know. I mean, that cost him his Alabama career.
Their game actually reminds me a lot of of each
Yeah.
other's. Like, it's just an inability to understand, hey, you need to just let this play go.
Yeah,
You know,
just fight
let go.
fight the next one.
Fight the fight later on, throw the ball away, protect yourself. Like, instead, both of them have this mentality of, we've got to make that.
Yeah, we cannot sacrifice this play.
And I can't
I
tell you
feel
how
like
many
Tua's
times.
done a lot better with that recently, though. I mean, his problem is he doesn't know how to fall correctly when he's
Yeah, he
being
just can't
tackled.
fall.
Like now, well, I say it at Alabama. Yes, that was a big issue with him because he would try to make something happen. Same with Bryce. I agree with that.
But Bryce, this year was so frustrating. He knocked us out of field goal range several times, or made the field goal way more difficult on Will Riker than it should have
Yeah.
been. And it
Well, there's a couple that had he just taken off running, he would have gained 10, 12 yards.
Yeah,
I
that
think
too.
against A&M, in that A&M game this year, he wound up taking like a 15-yard sack, and Will Riker wound up missing the field goal. And then that's when A&M got the chance to be able to go down the field, I believe, and possibly win the game. He could have made it a touchdown game with an easy field goal. Instead, no, like, we're going to –
several times I was just like, run, just go. You know, he'd be running sideways, waiting for something to open up. And I'm like, just take off.
I think Bryce was a little bit more timid this season
Slide.
running the football because knowing what was on the line for him. Like, the year before, his sophomore year, it felt like he would run anytime he needed to. If he needed to pick up 20 yards on the ground, he would do it. This year it was almost like he would have the open run and choose not to take it.
Yeah, he did that a lot this year.
Yeah, like there were several times where I'm like, dude, like you've got the first down, you've got a touchdown right there. Why are you trying to throw that into coverage, you know?
Yeah. Like, what are you waiting for? If he'd have just decided to run, he would have – it's so quick that he would have already – he would have already gotten the necessary yards if he just would have made up his mind.
He was a great player, and I really enjoyed watching him. And I feel like he did more with less than any quarterback in the last, like, decade.
This year he did.
Like, so, I mean –
receivers.
Yeah, just his talent around him. I mean, it was still Alabama. Like, it's still talented, but overall the pieces did not fit as well together. And I feel like even though we lost that 2021 national championship to Georgia, that season was so impressive to me because of what Will Anderson and Bryce Young did to get them there. Like, it felt like those two just carried the team on their back. And James Williams, and John, I mean, those were combo players, but it felt like Bryce Young. If Bryce Young's not on that team, that Alabama team possibly.
I thought the four of them. I thought Will, Bryce, and the two receivers were really which you saw when both of them were lost to non-contact turf knee injuries in consecutive games. That makes absolute sense, right?
Yeah.
And then all the rest of the receivers were dog crap. And then this year the receivers were, they started coming around towards the end of the year, making plays, but they left a lot of plays on the field. The receivers did this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I'm curious.
Look, Gia Hall just transferred again.
Just transferred again. I'm convinced some of these cats come to Alabama just so when they hit with the plan of entering the portal after a year or two with Alabama on their resume.
But if I'm a coach, I'm looking at it like, why did you leave?
Yeah. I mean, the Brockermeyer kid, that guy couldn't even get on the field, and this is two of the worst years of offensive line play we've had. And Brockermeyer couldn't even sniff the two deep chart.
Yeah. So
why would TCU even want him?
Yeah. So I don't know if y'all watch or listen to Unnecessary Roughness. It's like the Barstool podcast.
Sometimes.
So Brandon Walker is like the biggest Mississippi State fan ever. And I remember a couple of years ago, like Tyrell Shavers wound up transferring to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like Tyrell Shavers, he's going to
wide receiver.
This guy barely stepped on the field at Alabama. Never started a game, never had any.
Did anything.
Snaps. But that's the thing is people. Oh, this Alabama guy transferred here. That means he's going to be a stud. Like Trey Sanders transferred somewhere. That guy, I don't think is ever going to be a superstar for you. I don't care where he goes.
That's sad too. I was excited about that dude.
Yeah, Oh, I thought he was going to be great, but
Like that was a sad story, man. Just one of those freak things.
Correct.
Lucky to be alive,
Yeah.
but disappointing because I was really had high hopes for him.
Didn't Tyrell Shavers play baseball at Alabama too for a while?
Did he?
Possibly.
Pretty sure.
The last football player I remember playing baseball for us was Keith Holcomb.
Keith Holcomb. There you
Yeah.
go. I saw that. I saw him play.
I forgot about
He
that
had
guy.
a dinger. But he was okay. He was not that great.
He didn't even play,
Tyrell Shavers,
play football his
2019.
senior year, I don't think. And what's
Yeah,
funny
he
is
played
he actually played consistently on the football team. I never thought he was a great player, but he actually got on the field. You know, I mean,
It's a good special team until we needed him on defense and kind of muddied his
he's
name.
never going to be in middle.
You know, you hit rock bottom if you need Holcomb on defense, and
Yeah.
it's not going to end well.
Hey, still better than Trey DePriest. Still better than Trey DePriest.
That's it, Parker. You're out of here.
Oh no, my
Into the
my
Phantom
least
Zone.
favorite
Into
Alabama,
the Phantom Zone. We don't speak that name here.
my least favorite Alabama defensive player was Adrian Hubbard, I think was his name.
Ah!
Oh,
You mean the
he's
guy
gone.
that had
He's
the
gone.
guy that
Get
had the
him
finger
outta
wrap
here.
for like 4 years? He had that wrap on his fingers, so his
Yes.
fingers looked about this long.
Yeah,
For about
Yeah.
4 straight years, he had that same wrap on his hand.
yeah. I always thought
Papa
like
Neely calls
he
him,
was
looks
just
like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he change his name?
Oh, I don't know about that. I just remember he was not really great.
He was-
Also,
I
like
heard he
early
traded
on,
to Adriana.
in the Alabama dynasty, I remember there were like some players that got on the field, but they were kind of like Shula guys. And I remember like Marquise Johnson was like a corner on our team.
yeah, number 24.
Appearances a lot, and he
Yeah.
was very good. And then my least favorite two corners
Dion
Alabama
Blue.
ever had were Dion Blue, who
Blue.
I thought was just trash, and then
Horrible.
Bradley Sild, I think was his name.
Yo, the speed guy, Bradley Sylvie.
Yeah, he wound up. I remember he wound up getting roasted against West Virginia in 2014 in that opening game, and then he
Bounced between receiver and defensive back like 4 times.
Yeah,
Because he was like a 900-meter flat track runner in high school. Not 9 flat, obviously that'd be a world record. But I mean, he was speed kills, and then he just couldn't play. You know, he was fast, but he just couldn't play. He just couldn't play football in the SEC.
Yep.
But I remember him. He was supposed to be the burner. You know, the Tyler Harrell this year.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
almost
even real.
want to do like a podcast. Hell, I mean, we've got 20 something minutes left on this. Like the Forgotten Players podcast.
Oh,
or something
yeah.
like that.
We can do a whole episode on that.
So
Yes,
so
sir.
It's funny. Like I was just thinking about this because we were talking about like all these
And
Alabama forgotten players. But I don't know if y'all remember like the era when we were losing all the Iron Bowls. But Auburn
Oh,
had
yeah.
this running back post Carnell Williams and Ronnie Brown named Kenny Irons.
Kenny Irons, number 23.
Who literally was like the nemesis to Alabama.
His brother was on that team too.
Yeah, David Irons, yeah.
Yeah, he
And
was a defensive back
And Kenny Irons was like drafted in the second round, I think. But
by
then
the
he
Bengals.
got injured, had like a serious injury, like in training camp, and never played a down in the NFL. But I remember he was, he ran all over us.
He busted us up a couple of years.
Yep,
I think he was there 05 and 06. I think he was there
Yeah.
2 years.
yep.
Yeah, it
Because
was
his last year, yeah, the Bengals drafted him, right? Huh?
yeah,
right,
it
Murph?
was. Yeah.
Yep, the
I thought the
Bengals.
Bengals drafted him.
Yeah,
He didn't have a long career, but
How about Brandon
Brandon
Cox,
Cox.
the Auburn quarterback of that era, too?
wasn't he a lefty? Wasn't he a big lefty?
I don't know if he's left-handed or not, but there's only been like 2 quarterbacks in Auburn history that have beaten Alabama 3 times as like a starter, or like went 3-0 as a starter against Alabama.
Yeah.
And he's one of them.
He was beating some real good Alabama teams, that's for sure.
Well, they were bad Alabama teams, but
I figured Jason Campbell would have won
Either way.
3 in a row.
No, I think Jason Campbell only started
You guys,
03 and 04, or did
Campbell was only started, I think, 03 and 04.
Okay, yeah, so he didn't get 3 times against him, but I think Patrick Nix was the other Auburn quarterback that won 3.
Yeah,
Against
Pat
Auburn.
Nix. One of them, he came in as a backup, 93.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys remember when Chris Carter's son was a wide receiver commit?
Yeah.
The Duron Carter
Oh,
saga?
he was on the team at one point, wasn't he?
That's the big mystery.
He never.
I don't think anybody ever really knows.
He never played, but
No, but that was like the question for like 3 straight years was, is Duron Carter on the team? What's the status of Duron Carter?
Now, I will say Chris Carter has had some really nice things to say about Nick Saban. Really,
Yeah.
he was like a big Nick Saban fan guy.
I know he was. Chris Carter was at a lot of Bama stuff when Duron was allegedly on the team.
Yeah.
He was at a lot of practices and sidelines and things like that. And then it was always like, yeah, he's cleared to play. Well, he's
So
coming. Maybe not.
okay, forgotten Alabama players. Before Lee Tiffin, we had this kicker named Jamie Christensen.
Oh, money.
And I remember he hit
sucked.
that field goal against Texas Tech that was like the worst
a helicopter
ever, and it wound up going in.
Yeah. He's the one that used to tuck a dollar bill inside his sock
Yeah.
because he missed every kick except the ones that were like for the win or for the tie.
Yeah.
And somehow he would hook them in like helicopter. The ball would be spinning like vertically. I mean horizontally, like a helicopter blade. When he'd leave his foot.
Like a clutch, he could.
I mean, and that one kick, it went like 5 feet off the ground total.
Yeah.
And like curved in the corner. Like, it's nuts. Sorry, someone's ringing my doorbell. But yeah, that's I mean, he was infuriating. Jamie Christensen. Yeah, because he was on the team that year that Lee Tiffin missed like 4 kicks against Arkansas.
Yeah. Oh, and he missed the extra point in overtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Point.
And we lost that game. And he played Christensen every game after that.
No, he didn't. Because Lee Tiffin replaced
Tiffin was a freshman that year that he missed all those kicks.
Jamie Christensen never played another down after that 2005 game that he beat Texas Tech. He was on
because that was the bowl game. That was his senior year.
Lee Tiffin was the kicker the whole time. He had that horrible game against Arkansas, but he also won us the game against Vanderbilt, I believe. We won like 13-10 against Vanderbilt, no 6.
There we go.
Or something like that. And he had the game winner. Or maybe he had the game. Yeah, it was 06. Yeah. So it's crazy to think we were beating Vanderbilt by game-winning kicks in 2006.
Yeah, because Christensen's last year was 05, and Tiffin was a freshman in 05. And then he took over in 06, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, but
Do what?
Jamie Christensen.
Star Jackson.
Oh, I brought him up a couple podcasts ago. Yeah, was, you talk about high. Everybody thought he was going to be like the guy, and then AJ McCarron just.
Do you guys remember the very first quarterback commit that Nick Saban got?
Wait,
Greg McElroy, wasn't it?
No,
Greg McElroy was a Shula guy.
I'll tell you. I know who it is, but I was just seeing if any of y'all did.
All right, I'm trying to think of it real quick. What year was it? 07?
It's 2007. He never played, but he was the first quarterback commit that first year, and then Saban got real players the next year, and homie slid out.
No idea.
No, I can't remember.
His name was Nick Fanuzzi.
Yeah, I don't remember him at all.
He was Saban's first quarterback commit.
Yeah.
3-star. Wow. 440 nationally.
I tell you a guy that actually 2 guys that I remember vividly from like the early Nick Saban era, and one of them was named Nikita Stover, and I remember.
Oh, number 9, yeah.
He was supposed to be like the top. He was a 5-star coming out.
Yes.
like he was a Shula guy, but everybody was like, he's going to be a stud. And I remember he wound up underperforming for 4 straight years, like horribly. He did have a touchdown in that Iron Bowl against Auburn in 08 when we beat them, and that was his only touchdown of the season. And he was
that was the 36-0 game, right? When McElroy threw that touchdown pass and mop up time at the end.
Yep.
Threw that dime to whoever that was. That may have been Stover. Was that may have been Stover that game?
That was to Marquise Mays.
That was to Mays? Okay.
But the other guy is named Terry Grant.
The running back.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him vividly because his freshman year, he was basically a starter because Glenn Coffey had all that issues and Roy Upchurch was hurt, I think. And so Terry Grant wound up being like an SEC all-freshman player. And then he never stepped on the field basically the next
was gone within a year. He was gone within a year.
Well, no,
he
was
Auburn, didn't he?
No, he was on the team for the 09 national championship team. And then
you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. And then he transferred out after the 2009.
He started in 07 and then didn't play at all in 08 or in 09.
Barely, yeah. Well, he barely played in 08 and 09. He did get on the field a little bit, but not much. And then he transferred out to, I believe.
I thought he was Auburn.
No, I think North Alabama for Bowden. I think he went to play for Terry Bowden, I think.
No, you're thinking
Terry
of Ryan
Bowden was
Grant, Parker. You're thinking of was his name Ryan Grant? That was what was his name? That was we had the running back at Alabama in 2010, Corey Grant. He wound up going to Auburn and then was on the kick team, and he was a super fast guy.
Yeah, he couldn't play. He never got on the field as a running back either.
But we had Trent Richardson at Alabama. I mean, it would have been hard for him to – it was Trent Richardson and then Eddie Lacy, and then it was like the Derrick Henry, TJ Eldner. I don't think he would have ever probably stepped on the field.
He was never going to play. No, because Glenn Coffey really set the bar for running back U. I mean, everybody forgets about Glenn Coffey.
Yeah.
In 08, Glenn Coffey had like 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards. Like, he was a beast in 08.
Yeah.
And then he went in the NFL, and then Ingram and Trent were the running backs in 09.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, Glenn Coffey, like, I remember this was like the pre-Derrick Henry big running back era.
Yeah.
I remember, like, he looked like this just I don't know if it was his shoulder pad so high or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he just looked huge.
Who's that he had a long run against? Was that an Iron Bowl? Didn't he have a long run in the Iron Bowl in 08?
He had a decently long run in the Iron Bowl. He wasn't really.
He had a long run against somebody that year.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't remember who it was, but
Derrick Henry had like 6 that one year, but I remember Coffey had one long run that year. I don't remember who was against though.
Yeah, that 08 team.
But yeah, he gets overlooked a lot when we all reminisce about the Bama running backs and the embarrassment of riches we've had at that position. He gets overlooked a lot.
He wasn't a super highly recruited guy.
No. And there wasn't any hype around him. Alabama was nothing going into 08. We weren't even ranked. Clemson was ranked 5th when we busted their ass in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game.
Yeah, he left the NFL after
a couple of years.
One
joined the SEALs or something.
Yeah, he was with the 49ers for one season, left, went and joined the Army Rangers and was in the Army Rangers for a while, and then he was an assistant coach with Alabama a few years ago.
I say he was on the staff.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't remember. I don't know if he's still there in some kind of role or what, but I know he was on staff.
He was a grad assistant or something, but
yeah.
Weird
career path.
No, I tell you, one of like the biggest Shula recruits of all time was Andre Smith, who was like drafted number 5 or number 6 overall, and then he went to the Bengals and basically
he was a right tackle. He played right tackle there for like 10 years.
Oh, did he? Yeah, I mean, I never really heard a whole lot about his career after that. I mean, linemen don't really get much publicity.
No, they moved him to right tackle, and then he had a pretty long career for the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say 7-8 years he played for the Bengals. He started for the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. And then
that was the big time Shula recruit. And then his last year was Saban's first year, and then he got suspended for the Sugar Bowl for taking gifts from an agent or something.
No, he was with Saban for 2 years. His freshman year was 06. He played with Saban in 07.
7 and 8. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. He got banned. He didn't play in the Sugar Bowl that year because he was had already
Yeah.
talked to the agent.
Speaking of games nobody cared about, including the team.
Unfortunately, because I thought it was a huge deal. Like, we're playing in the Sugar Bowl. At that time, Alabama had not played in a big bowl game.
Well, and then we just had Florida beat and got Tebowed at the end, and I think that
Played the lovely Utes from Utah.
that was the first of those games where it's like that's the biggest game in the history of Utah, and not even a blip on the radar at Alabama. So,
But I will say, like, in that era, that was a big deal. Like, because that was before the BCS games didn't matter. Like back then, like the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl and the Rose Bowl meant something.
yeah.
And I think, honestly, like a lot of people say Alabama wasn't prepared for that game. I don't think
didn't care.
I don't think that's the case in that specific game. I do not think that is the case. I think Utah was actually a very talented team in general, and we just didn't take them seriously as an opponent. I think we wanted to win that game. It's just we got our doors kicked in because we underestimated the opponent. Now, that 2013 Sugar Bowl, I think, was a masterclass in Alabama had just lost the Kick Six Iron Bowl and just didn't give a shit, But the Utah game, the Utah
that's a good point, but that was the biggest game in the history of Utah's program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even since that year, they still haven't played in a game that big.
So I think Merrimack just won the Northeastern Conference Championship on a buzzer beater.
Merrimack.
I love mid-major basketball.
I never
It's
even
the
heard
best.
of Merrimack. But I tell you, it kind of sucks.
Because it's all like fifth-year seniors and stuff.
Yeah, Merrimack just joined Division I last year.
Yeah. Because all these guys have been playing in the same system for like 5 years, so they're all running this.
The thing is,
Bunch of
like, their
pasty white
regular
dudes.
season-
A couple Serbs.
So, like, I grew up going to Troy basketball games, okay?
I'm sorry.
And the reality is, and this is nothing against Troy basketball, it's just the reality, but Troy's regular season meant nothing. Literally meant nothing. They could lose every single game in their regular season and then still win their conference tournament, and it's the team that they're playing that's the number one overall seed still has to do the same thing to make the tournament. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter. And it's hard to be invested as like a fan if you know that, hey, this won't matter if we lose in the second round of the conference tournament.
It sells tickets, and there's some exciting stuff that happens in these conference tournaments. But I think that if you win the regular season, you should get a waiver. Like, they should give you the choice to play in the tournament if you want, or say, no, man, we got bigger fish to fry.
Well, the NIT used to feel like it meant something a little bit more than it does now. Now, like, the NIT is just completely irrelevant. The more expansion that you do and bring more teams to the field, it just makes it where those things mean less. And now there's like more. There's like the CBI and the CIT. There's like more additional NIT type tournaments. So it's
like
just,
all you got to do is dress out for the year, and you're going to get in some postseason tournament.
So it's watered down the
absolutely,
experience.
absolutely, and they're going to expand the big tournament, which I think is silly because, like you said, it waters it down. We don't need 120 teams in the big tournament. 64 is plenty.
But that's the thing. That could change drastically. Like if all of this football stuff winds up happening and potentially like some of these teams the smaller conferences get relegated, that could impact basketball as well. We might be seeing like a league potentially one day of like 60 Power 5 teams that are playing for the college basketball national championship.
Yeah.
If there's no more NCAA, like
good. I'm on board with anything that gets rid of the NCAA.
I think everybody is. It's
useless organization.
pretty much irrelevant at this point. But
It's pretty much irrelevant.
That's why I was voting for the NIL stuff to get passed, because then we can just get rid of the NCAA. We don't even need you anymore with your fake policing and fake rules and all that crap.
And think about it, all these years later, Brian the Bosworth was right.
He was right.
The
all
man
along.
was ahead of his time. He was right.
Yeah, the Boz knows, man.
That 30 for 30 is still one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. And the one they do on Saban, whenever Saban retires, and they do the 10-part series on the Saban
I hope
legacy.
it's like an HBO documentary or like.
I hope it's like The Last Dance. I need like 10
I
episodes.
need a Last
like,
Dance style,
like something like that.
yeah.
Last Dance is one of the best documentaries of all time.
Even if you're not a basketball fan, like it's such a good.
Well, I grew up in the Jordan era, so I mean that whole 10-episode documentary. I remember all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was watching all that stuff, and this was before social media and really, coverage like it is now. Parker just gets up and walks out.
Everyone's leaving.
Everybody dipped. Cam said, "I'm out.
Yeah.
Screw you guys. I'm going home." There's Parker. He's back.
By the way, we had an 11-point lead on Sanford for our baseball team, but Sanford's sneaking their way back.
What just happened to him? Where'd he go? Where'd Cameron
Forgot
go?
they played tonight.
Cam went to get another brewski, maybe.
We did move up a little bit in the rankings. We're now 18th.
Talking about for baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are we still like 14-0 or something? 13-0?
Yeah, we're undefeated right now.
12-0. Only SEC team that's 12-0. One
Yeah.
of
We,
Hey,
Parker and I were talking earlier. We'll wind up like
Scott.
17-14 by the time the baseball
just
tournament.
wait
easy.
till we get to conference play.
Dude, I know. I know.
Fonzie's
I
like,
mean,
I know.
they-
I know.
I literally
We've
looked.
been-
I literally-
we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. We've been getting consistently better with Brad Bohannon. I think he's a good coach.
No, I agree.
We were
It's
close
just-
last year, and we're returning
It's
a lot
just
of
the
those
thing
guys.
is,
But
I was absolutely floored when I actually saw the rankings right now, and the top 6 or 7 teams were all SEC, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
it's
we're so
ridiculous.
screwed. I was like, there's no way.
Our first SEC game is against Florida in March 16th.
Oh Jesus.
March 16th.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it was
Jeff and I
last
were
year, or
talking
the year
about
before,
waiting
but
for
there was a
LSU.
team that was. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Just how deep the SEC is. Like either last year or the
Yeah.
year before, there was a team that was only 2 games above 500 in conference and hosted a regional
Jeez.
because they were like 12th in the country.
I think 5 out of the top 10 are SEC teams ranked right now.
Well, Alabama made a regional 2 years ago, and we were like 14 and 18 in the conference.
Mhm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I don't think it's going to matter. LSU is like 3 deep at every position.
Dylan
they're
Cruz
so
is a
good.
Pittsburgh Pirate. Tell you what.
I mean, most of that team is going to be Pirates at some point.
Oh, so we need all the help we can get.
No, they won't thrive until Pittsburgh flips them for draft picks.
Yeah, they'll be
They-
28 and going
Yeah.
into free agency before they hit their prime and do what was expected.
I'll never forget
but-
that All-Star game going down. They were calling out all the people in the All-Star team, and there was like 7 former Pirates out of the like 15 All-Star reserves. There was like 7 former Pirates.
We had our time and then just blew it up as soon as there was like, oh, we might not make the playoffs. We're still competing, but like
Yeah.
we're 8 games
Well,
back. So we just
Like the
blew
Pirates
it
would be
up.
like, when the guys start playing well, they get rid of him when they can get something for him. It's like they never keep him around long enough to realize their prime.
We don't want to pay.
Well,
Yeah.
So I remember there were a lot of fans of smaller market teams or low budget teams like the Pirates. There were a lot of people that were really upset about the postseason expansion because it sounds like it would be beneficial to Pittsburgh to have more teams in the postseason. But the reality is a lot of these low budget teams, they just want to make the postseason to get their postseason
Cut.
revenue shares, whatever the
Yeah.
case is, cut. And so that means that all of a sudden, instead of trying to win a World Series, they're just trying to put together a team that's good enough to be the last
in the
wild card.
postseason. Yeah,
And so
I'd agree with that.
it's like you lose the incentive to win. And there are a lot of teams like this is in sports in general, but there are a lot of teams that they don't really care about winning the championship. They just care
Just want
about
the money.
making the money they need to make to be able to feel comfortable where they're at.
I've seen it for.
Fonzie's like, yep, you sound familiar.
I need to rant for a minute because I haven't been able to talk about this for months.
In the room.
The floor is yours, my friend.
It pisses me off when people say the Pittsburgh Pirates are a small market team. They're not. That is
No,
a
they're not.
metropolitan area with 3 million people. It's the
Agreed.
30th largest metropolitan area in the United States.
Agreed.
It's a sports rabid city.
They have
all
3
you need
pro
to do is
franchises.
Yeah, put a decent product on the field, and that fan base would go crazy for that team.
Yes.
And they will not do it. Anytime there is someone that is going to make more than $12 million, we just ship them away.
Gone.
It's an embarrassment. It is. We have 2 great franchises in the city already. The Pirates were a great franchise for a very long time, and Bob Nutting just wants to line his pockets.
I mean,
and fund 7 spring.
The Pirates of the 70s are legendary, man. The Dave Parker Pirates of the 70s are legendary. And Pittsburgh fans are tried and true, man. Yinzers are run deep.
It's crazy. I mean, you think of the 5 greatest athletes in Pittsburgh, and 2 of them are probably Pirates. Clemente and Willie
Bonds. Or Stargell, yeah.
And I mean, Bonds was great when he was in Pittsburgh too.
He's a Hall of Famer in Pittsburgh. If you just take his Pittsburgh career, the dude is a Hall of Famer.
Absurd. It's just sad, and I need to talk about it because
it is sad because the Pirates are a good franchise, a proud franchise. They play in a great ballpark in a great city with great color scheme. Great. I mean, there's no reason why Pittsburgh has to be an also ran.
Well, I tell you, the thing is there's no real excuse for the Pirates being as bad as they've been. Because the Royals won a World Series in 2015.
They played one the year before.
The Rays, who literally have no money on their payroll, have made the World Series twice in the last 18 years.
Yeah. Every year.
There really is no excuse,
There's no.
I agree.
I'm not going to defend the Pirates in any step. Don't get me wrong there, but it is sad because I think a lot of it is just ownership, and that's the issue. They just don't care enough to
Oh, it's so
make
sad.
that team a winner. 2013, we were a game away from the NLCS, and that team, that Pirates team in 2013, could have won a World Series.
Was that that was Kutch? That was prime Kutch, wasn't it?
Yeah, he won the MVP that year. 14, we were worse, but good team. 15, we definitely could have won a World Series too. And
Garrett Cole in that stretch.
Yeah, Garrett Cole didn't have a great wild card, and Jake Arrieta embarrassed us. But after that, they just gave up. I'm they wouldn't pay McCutchen. McCutchen wanted $18 million a year, which now is
nothing.
You do that every time.
That's at the league minimum.
Yeah,
and he was an MVP.
Yeah. MVP, Silver Slugger,
He wound up with the Giants.
The Giants? What about him?
No, that's when he left Pittsburgh. He signed with the Giants and then played half a season, and the Yankees picked him up at the deadline.
Well, we traded him for Kyle Crick and Brian Reynolds, which Reynolds ended up okay.
Well, Reynolds ended up okay. So now y'all are about to flip him because they're not going to pay him.
But we'll probably only have him for another year. So.
Yeah, they're not going to pay him what he wants.
Yeah, I used to complain all the time about Braves ownership and it's owned by a corporation, which just makes
about
different.
AOL, Time Warner.
But hell, at least they've kind of given Alex Anthopoulos some flexibility to make some big money decisions, and it wound up capitalizing that into a World Series. So the Pirates.
Well, he's locking up their young talent too with those team-friendly deals. He's locking them up before they hit free agency and have to pay $300 million. I I mean, they locked up Austin Riley for 213 million, and I was like, that's about half of what you'd have got him in 2 years if they let him hit free agency.
Yeah, that's like why they signed Acuna.
Yeah.
8-year, $100 million deal.
Even Ozzie Albies signed that Scottie Pippen contract.
That contract was ridiculous. I still cannot believe that was even allowed to pass. But
that he signed that deal, I know, me either.
Michael Harris has an insane contract too.
Yeah, he got locked up too, straight from AA to the bigs.
Well, and so it's to the advantage of like a Michael Harris for sure. And even Ronald Acuna was like, that's all guaranteed money. If you can sign that, get through the arbitration era, they could have a star. Like Michael Harris he had a great rookie season, won the rookie of the year. And then next year he could never capitalize on that again. But now he has $72 million paid out to him.
Yeah.
You take
That's what they did is they locked him up before they got arbitration. They just went ahead and paid him.
Yep.
Brilliant.
He might not have made $9 million until he was 5 years in. So
yeah,
good deal for him. But
yeah, that's true.
Pirates did it with Brian Hayes, so we're getting over the hump. But
well, I wonder who O'Neal Cruz is going to play for in a couple of years.
If we don't build around him, we're just. I hope we saw.
That's a guy you need to build around. That guy can rake.
Does it all.
Yes. 6'7" playing shortstop. I mean, I've never seen that. That's Aaron Judge playing shortstop. Okay, maybe he's not 280, but
he
still.
had tuning into that team when they were like 36-70 last year. Just
now, I will say
36-70.
Throwing money against a wall in baseball is not what wins championships. That has been proven time and time again. The Mets have been big spenders. The Padres have been big spenders. Like
the Yankees.
Those teams are the Yankees. Like, and those teams have not capitalized on that very well. And the reality is, the Pirates need to be developing these players in their farm system and making smart business decisions like the Braves and getting those guys on really good team-friendly deals young, having control for a long time, and being able to build a franchise. If you're just trading those players away because they cost, $10 million a year, whatever the case it is.
That's exactly what the Pirates are doing.
And then you're never going to win
it all, baby.
Never build around baby. Like, it's like the Pirates, they don't want to have like this franchise player like a Freddie Freeman.
No, they want to pay him.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
It's just this is a team that, I mean, you look at the Dodgers and how much they make off their TV deal. They basically cover their payroll. Like, the Pirates are never going to get that. Los Angeles is a huge market, but the Pirates still make $40 million a year off their TV deal. Attendance isn't great, but people still go to the games. They have plenty of revenue
loyal,
there.
man.
The MLB shares a ton of money between owners. Like, there's just no reason for it.
Pittsburgh people are loyal, dude.
Yeah,
even when the Pirates are trash, they'll still put people in that ballpark.
Yeah, granted, like 11,000, and firework night usually.
That's more than Tampa Bay ever gets, and they've been in the World Series a few times.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't even know who the Pirates like management is now. Like their manager, their general manager. I don't know any of that.
Is it still Shelton? Is it still Derek Shelton?
Derek Shelton and Ben Sherrington's our GM, which he's done. He gets a lot of flack, but he's done a good job. I think.
Well, the Rays, they understand their limitations, and they've been very like analytical based as a result of that, and they've wound up capitalizing on it. Now, they don't like keep any players very, very long either, but they just have a way of getting the best out of the players that are on their roster. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they're giving them there, but they always are a contender for some reason. I don't understand it.
They develop like crazy.
In the AL East too. I mean, in that grind, that's the AL East.
Even more insane because every single one of those teams now is pretty legit. But the Rays also don't need to rely on Ben Gamble to play 140 games a year. So
they did sign him though.
They develop their talent, and I think we're turning a page. Like I think the Pirates are starting to develop that talent. I think their minor league staff for a long time was just not great. But
Parker, we're digging
let's see.
digging your setup in there, man. Get
Yeah,
your
where
setup
is
back
this?
there?
It's the same room I've been doing it. I just moved some things around. I finally got some.
He got rid of the tailgate chair too, Murph.
He did, and he
Hey,
hanged a picture.
Hey, there. Yeah. Well, the other picture is just I got these new clothes racks, and I moved everything around. And I was like, well, I'm going to move this around. And then I was like, so much memorabilia back here, so I might as well show it.
Yeah. Flash it
but-
all, man.
Going back to the baseball thing, that's one of the topics I've talked about numerous times. So there's how many games in a regular season in baseball? 140?
162.
Should be about
162.
140. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
I think they need to cut down on it because I mean that is a lot of baseball,
It's too many.
of baseball,
Yeah,
and
That's too many games.
what I think you could do to cut that down would be the middle of the week games. You know, to me, I would think that how the best way to say it. I would figure that those would be your lower attendance games anyway. But
especially
everybody's
like
making
during like the day, like 2:00. or
yeah,
something.
exactly. But it's
The
not about
Wednesday
they don't make the
matinee,
money.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cut off the
like
last 3
and I
weeks.
know that could be.
You know,
That'll
Listen,
never.
I'm like you. Like I don't like November baseball. I don't like watching baseball where guys are in like face warmers and gloves and 3 layers of clothing. You can see
that's
their
the
breath.
best. That's the World Series right there. That's the best time.
Reminds me of
November.
home. Yeah.
No, so my
November.
thing is like with
November's
baseball,
football season.
they're never going to reduce the games because there's money
Agreed.
to pay if the games are being played. So like that's how they make their revenue is having the stadium open, having the games on TV. So
What's the TV? Let's be honest. It's the TV that's making the money. The TV deals. You'd have like maybe what might have 30,000 people at a baseball game on a Wednesday Wednesday at lunchtime when the game is. But what's going to be making money is because there's going to be more people watching on TV than are at the game. So that's where it is. I
There's
agree
like
with it.
20 teams though that like they can't afford to operate without that ticket sales.
Oh, I
Because
agree.
outside of the
smaller
top
market
10
teams,
markets,
absolutely.
like the TV deals aren't enough between payroll and like baseball is just different than every other sport the way it's structured. There's no salary cap. Like
Yeah,
there's just a
that's-
lot of factors.
They're trying with this luxury tax number. They're trying to mask it as not a salary cap, but it's kind of what it's trying to be.
Mhm.
Not really working though, because some owners are like,
I was
I don't
gonna
care.
say, yeah. I don't
Tax me, I don't
know
care.
how
It's another
legitimate it
75
is.
million.
But
Yeah, what's that? 75 million? I don't care.
plenty of teams that are hitting that threshold that can afford
Yeah.
it. So.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, man, this has been a fun show, you guys. Man, I like talking some baseball. Like I talk baseball all night. Towards the end of the month, once right we get towards the start of opening day, we'll do our baseball. We'll do a baseball preview show, and we'll really talk some baseball.
Have
Once
any
some
of y'all
the-
gotten the MLB package for like watching the games?
I have it for the Yankees. I don't have it for the whole for
I
all
started
of
getting like
MLB.
pick with the team. Like I just want to watch this team. I might
Yeah.
get it.
It's like $25 cheaper if
Yeah.
you just do one team than if you do all MLB.
And up front.
So I just pay for the year for the Yankees. I've been doing that 4 or 5 years now. It's like my 5th year, I think, with
Yeah.
the just the Yankees games.
By the way,
That's the best money I spend because I wear that sucker out.
yeah, I think I'm just gonna do it for the Braves. And by the way, I gotta squeeze some Tallahassee news in the mix. I don't know if y'all have seen FSU not being happy with the ACC and putting the word out there that they're clearly wanting to leave. I have no idea where they would go.
Whoa.
Yeah,
They're gonna email the SEC first. That's
Yeah.
the first call they make.
and to be honest, like I feel like a team like FSU probably made more sense than a team like Missouri. But
Agreed.
yeah, like
well, so
Any school makes more sense than Missouri.
Yeah.
Wait, back when that decision was made for Missouri and A&M to come to the conference, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina all vetoed their rivals coming to the SEC. And that's why it became such a big deal a few years ago, or 2 years ago, whenever Texas and Oklahoma were coming over. They thought A&M was going to try to veto their entry. And basically the conference went to them and were like, A&M, you're going to let this happen.
Yeah.
So that's why that didn't happen. But I don't really fully understand what's going on with the whole Florida State thing. I do know that they've made some comments about their TV deal, and
that's
that. Them and Clemson have both complained about the fact that they feel like the deal does not benefit them directly because they're the two biggest drawers.
Yeah, given what they bring to the table.
Yeah, so they're basically saying, why is Boston College making the same amount of money on this TV deal than we are when we're big money draws for the conference in the first place? And I agree with that. It was the same issue that Texas and Oklahoma were dealing with in the Big 12. It's like, hey, we're the brands, yet Texas Tech is making the same amount of margin that we are. Kansas is, whoever.
Well, bring them on in, man. Bring them on in. Let's make it a whole big mega conference.
Oh, I think you're going to see Florida State, Clemson, Miami. All of those teams. I think eventually we'll probably bring Oklahoma State in just to even it out at whatever number we're at that point. Kind of fill it in a little bit, but. Yeah,
we have a 4 game, and then
that will be the depth of the ACC.
Oh yeah, well the Pac-12 is already
left of it anyway.
The Pac-12
Clemson or bust
TV deal right now because they know their two biggest brands are on the way out, or two of their biggest brands are on the way out, and none of the ABC and ESPN obviously have the SEC contract that they're about to be involved with. CBS did all their money with the Big Ten with that big, huge billion-dollar contract. Fox said they had wanted nothing to do with the Pac-12 in general. And then what are the other NBC? They're not doing anything with them either. So, that CBS deal is like a conglomerate, isn't it? It's like CBS, NBC.
NBC does the Notre Dame stuff. I can't.
Yeah,
imagine they're sticking with that.
Yeah, but the CBS, that whole Big Ten deal is several different Fox, CBS, and NBC to cover that whole thing. That's why it's $1 billion deal. And then ESPN will have the whatever multi-billion dollar deal with the SEC. So now the Pac-12 is trying to go into streaming services to be able to do their games. So you're about to see the Pac-12 just completely dissolve. It's going to be a Pac-12, Big 12 combo.
Pac-4.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is the Pac-12 and the Big 12 merge.
I thought that would have happened by now, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. The next 5 years, something like that will go down, I think.
So my understanding is the reason it hasn't, and so the reason why the Pac-12 didn't go after a TCU or one of those type teams is because supposedly they're not very big into religious affiliated schools in the Pac-12 for whatever reasons that is. And so there was there was some merger issues as a result of some of that kind of stuff, right? And some of the Pac-12 schools are very, very different than the Texas schools or an Oklahoma State. You know what I'm saying? Cal, Berkeley is a very different.
Baylor.
Yeah. So Baylor's a Methodist school, So, So those were some issues there. I think the Pac-12 is just going to dissolve or be absorbed or something. I don't know.
Yeah, resorbed.
Yeah, I think they'll make another conference whenever. I agree with it being absorbed. I think Big 12 and Pac-12 come together, and they'll make
USC and UCLA are in the Big 10 now, right?
Yeah, they will
be.
They just went in, yeah.
Such a weird regional thing. It's kind of a long way away.
Penn State and USC, the big rivalry game. Penn State and USC division rivals. What? Northern Pennsylvania and Southern California? Okay.
Yeah. See, it's going to be interesting because
sure,
the TV providers are going to want USC and Ohio State to play every single year. Okay, that is an incentive game for them. That is a big draw, big eyes. And the problem is like that doesn't really make sense for USC because that's on the eastern side of the Big Ten. You know, like so
Right.
there's going to be some interesting stuff there that's going to, or like they're going to want USC to play Penn State, and that's all the way across the country, back and forth.
So
like
weird.
USC still has its rivalry with Notre Dame, which is already a cross country type visit or a halfway across country type visit. So the travel is going to be ridiculous for them. I'm curious to see how that works. But.
Poor Lincoln Riley. He ran from Oklahoma to get out of the SEC, and then USC jumps conferences when he thought he was going to cakewalk through the Pac-12 the next decade.
Yeah, but the Big Ten is a lot different from the SEC to me. The Big
I was
Ten
going to say, well,
the Big Ten is the second best conference in the country. However,
that's a big gap.
Yeah, so it's a two. In my opinion, it is a two. Right now, it is a two-team conference. It's Michigan and Ohio State. One of those two teams. Those are the two teams that are the quote-unquote playoff contenders. I'm not going to say championship contenders, but making the playoff teams. Penn State is like a New Year's Six type team, but the rest of the conference is just okay.
they're bad.
Like
They're
Wisconsin
really
isn't good.
Very
right?
top heavy in that conference. Very
Michigan
top-heavy.
State was awful this year. Like they're not really very strong top to bottom. Like they've had years where they were better top to bottom, like when Minnesota was good a couple of years ago and Wisconsin was competitive. But the SEC is a totally different ballgame. Like
Yeah.
right now, the overall talent is just all in the SEC. Like
not even
I
close.
honestly believe Florida, this past year's Florida team, could have gone to the Pac-12, possibly the Big Ten, and won the conference. Like that's how big of a difference
Yeah, I could see
think
that.
there is right now.
I could
There's
see
a big
that.
gap.
I think Florida would have beaten Ohio State
I don't know about that, but they would have been like
or Michigan.
they would have been
Maybe. That'd give Michigan a run. Michigan was hype.
Interesting.
Michigan gave up 50 points to TCU. That's enough.
Well, and Michigan played the worst non-conference schedule
Give me a break.
in history.
No.
This year. They
what,
played
UConn,
Colorado
Hawaii,
and
Hawaii.
somebody else that was bad. Like some of the worst teams in the country, legitimately.
All you had to
They
say
got
was
exposed.
Hawaii, and I was like, "Oh my
Hawaii.
god!"
You
They
could
still,
have done it with Hawaii.
They didn't
Yeah.
they
play.
still have a football.
That was their non-conference. Those 3 games, like they played a
God.
piss poor non-conference schedule. Now they played well in the they won their games in the Big Ten. I wouldn't say they played well in all of their games because they almost lost to Illinois. They almost lost to some other teams, but they won when they had to. And I thought Ohio State was going to beat the crap out of them in Columbus, and they didn't. So,
Yeah. They
It
lost
is
by
what it
25
is.
at home instead and didn't
So
fall in the
good.
rankings.
Well-
That's hilarious.
Well,
Anyway,
guys, and Colts.
man, this has been a good show, man. We touched on a lot of topics. So going forward, most of our shows will probably wind up in this format. We'll approach it with an idea, and then we'll end up veering off into several other things. So I like the open discussion. Baseball episode coming. Our live NFL draft episode is coming. End of April for the Thursday night of the draft, first round of the draft. Do like I did last year and have a live stream of the draft going. And I'll be on the whole time. Whoever can come in and out throughout, but I'll be on the whole time, especially for the 17th pick.
Also, I think it'd be really fun to do a March Madness bracket for the
Yes, yeah, I'm down with that too. I think that would be cool as well.
I think we need to have that ready
Yes,
come next week for the podcast.
come next.
So
We can do that
everybody-
next week because we'll know the
That's what
bracket
we
next
got,
week.
guys.
We'll know the seedings. We'll know the brackets, all that next week. So next Tuesday we'll do the bracket. We'll fill out our bracket for the show
Yeah, we'll compare and see how we did.
and see, and then we'll submit one somewhere.
Sounds
But yeah, anything else before we sign off and carry out the rest of this week and through the weekend and get our seeding for the tournament come Sunday evening?
good. Let's pray we can turn it
Yeah.
around.
Let's see. Okay, we got a like from Andy Slate. Thank you, Andy Slate, wherever
Thank you,
Andy
Andy.
Slate is. Oh, somebody says War Eagle, Parker. Funny
you,
guy, eh? Funny guy.
Thank you, Andy.
All right. Well, if that's it for everybody. We're going to sign off here. Thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys want to get into this crazy discussions with us each week, we'll be here. So, I guess Cameron's out. So anyway,
And goodbye. He's gone.
Fellas.
And he's gone.
See you guys next week.
And that's it.